Hey, this is Rick Kasalich, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through 3 daily range of motion exercises that you can do to loosen up your joints and loosen up your body so that you end up feeling great. And Jenna's going to demonstrate them, and she'll go through the first one, which will be squat to overhead side reach. There we go. So you're starting in a standing position. Feet are about hip width apart a little bit more. Toes are pointed out a touch. You're moving into a squat position. So can you hold the bottom part of the squat? So what we're working on is work on ankle range of motion, work on knee range of motion, work on hip range of motion. And then we're coming back up. And then reaching overhead and side bending. So with this, we're working on shoulder mobility and movement. And now we're working on spinal mobility and movement, especially with side flexion, so the spine moving side to side. So with that one movement, we end up targeting all kinds of joints. So we targeted the ankles, the hips, the shoulders, the spine. So it ends up being an excellent exercise to do to kind of loosen up your joints, help with your mobility, and then it allows you to, it'll end up making you feel great and enjoy the whole day. Now looking at the sets, reps, and time and intensity when it comes to this exercise, sets you'd end up doing 1. Repetitions, I would recommend starting off with 3, but then you can progress to about 5. The time ends up being a smooth controlled movement with a quick stop at the end position, as you saw Jenna do, and the intensity ends up being light. We're looking at improving the movement in the ankle, improving the movement in the knees, and in the hips, also improving the movement in the shoulders and in the spine. So it targets lots of things. Now moving on to the second exercise, this ends up being down dog to lunge. Okay, perfect. So starting off in that plank position, straight arm plank position, okay, and then moving into that down dog position, bringing the hips back, and then moving into that lunge position. And then coming back, and other lunge position. Okay, looking at the different things that we're targeting. So being in this plank position, working on wrist range of motion. We're also working on the core. Then Jenna's going to bring the hips back. So now what we're working on is really a lot of shoulder mobility, working on core, working on the hips, and then moving into that lunge. Now we're really working on hip. Maybe I'll come back and go the other side. And really working on hip mobility, knee mobility, and a little bit of the ankle. Good. Now with that one, so you can see the different areas that we end up targeting. We're working on mobility, and since we're working a lot of the full range of motion of things, you're also working on the flexibility in the muscles around the joint, especially in the hip and around the shoulder. Now looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets end up being 1. Repetitions, just like before, 3 to 5. Time ends up being smooth controlled movement between each of the positions with a good stop at each of them, like 2 seconds to 3 seconds. And the intensity ends up being light. We're looking at either working on improving the mobility, so movement in a joint, or we're working on stretching the muscles around a joint. So that's 2 down. Moving on to the third one. So full body open and close. Good. So you're starting in a standing position. You're moving into like a quarter squat position, and then you're bringing the arms overhead and arching back, bringing the head back. Good. And back down. So with this one, what we're working on, standing position, legs are about hip width apart, toes are slightly toed out. We're going to go into that kind of quarter squat position. So we're working on knee, hip, and then bringing the arms overhead. So working on the shoulders, and then bringing the head back and arching through that mid back and lower back. And maybe I'll get you to face this way so we can see things from the side. So getting in that quarter squat position, bring the arms overhead, bring the head back, arching through that mid back, arching through that low back, and then bringing the hips forward. So with this one, you can see once again we're working on the mobility and flexibility in numerous joints. So working a little bit on like the range of motion in the knees, in the hips, working on the range of motion, flexibility and mobility in the shoulders, and then also the mobility in the neck, mid-back, and lower back. Looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity for this one, the sets end up being 1, repetitions once again that 3 to 5 range, time, smooth controlled movement with a good stop at the end position, like 2 seconds, and the intensity ends up being light. We're either looking at, working on the movement of the joint, working either on the mobility, improving the movement at that joint, or working on stretching things out at the muscles around that joint. So there you go. Give those 3 exercises a go, and you can go from one to the next to the other. It ends up being a nice little flow that you can do in order to kind of help with your joints, loosen things up, and start feeling great and better throughout the day. Now, if you're suffering from knee pain and would like some of my best tips and tricks when it comes to overcoming knee pain, then what I recommend you do is click right here. I have a brand new free report called 5 Tricks That Fight Knee Pain and Tightness. Just click right here, let me know where to send that report, and I'll send you that report right away. Now, if you're watching this on a mobile device, tablet, smartphone, head down below in the description and click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/knees. Let me know where to send that report, and I'll send you that report right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to like this video. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comments section. And lastly, hit subscribe if you want future pain relieving videos.